Hello and welcome to the next installment of Timeless or Time to Go. Today we are going to be reviewing another 3 classic science fiction novels. Today here we have The Day of the Triffids, 2001 A Space Odyssey, and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That's got to be the longest book title I think I've ever read. This is a very strong group in this challenge. This is the 4th out of 6 groups. Let's get started. We have John Wyndham's The Day of the Triffids. This is a really good book. The pacing is a little slow, but I still really enjoyed it. So this was written in 1951, but this is a 1984 edition of the book. The cover leaves a little to be desired. I'm not too big of a fan of it, but let's get into this. This book revolves around the idea of a carnivorous plant species that is highly venomous, can quite easily kill humans, and is also able to walk. These plants are called triffids. They don't exist in real life, in case you were wondering. But what really intrigued me about this book is I thought this was going to be like an apocalypse book where like the plants attack. And that does kind of happen, but the main thing that plunges this version of Earth into apocalypse actually has nothing to do with the plants, which I really wasn't expecting. It turns out that the book starts with a huge meteor shower that everyone in the entire world watches because it's really crazy and bright. Loads of green lights, a light show in the sky. But the problem is, everybody watches it, and then the next morning everyone wakes up and they are blind. They cannot see, and I'm not sure how that would actually affect the world if that happened, but in this book, it appears to be catastrophic, and basically all of society collapses almost instantly. However, our main character was spared this fate because he was actually in the hospital being treated for temporary blindness at the time, because our main character, Bill, works with triffids. And basically they're being farmed because they can be turned into really useful seed oils and stuff. They just kind of magically appeared and were then immediately farmed for their produce. But they are pretty dangerous. Like I said, they're venomous, they sting humans, and they actually aim for the eyes. And Bill, our main guy, was hit in the face by one, was temporarily blinded, so that's why he couldn't watch the light show. And he was really upset about that. He was pretty upset that he missed the light show, but then he realized he woke up the next day and he could see and nobody else could, so that really sucks. And then he meets some people along the way who try to group together to help the blind people. Other people group together to try and help only the people who can still see by coincidence to rebuild the world. And there's a pretty interesting conflict going on between them. Like I said, the pacing of this book is a little slow, to be honest. It's 270 pages, this book. And it did take me a little while for the story to start picking up, but it does get really good. Some really interesting discussions about what would happen in this kind of post-apocalyptic world, but it was really enjoyable. It does have a nice ending, though, and that for me is really good, because you don't want to finish a book and it'll just be really sad and horrible. Like, finishing a book is sad enough, especially if it was a good one, but you want it to at least end on a fairly as good of a note as you can in a post-apocalyptic, being attacked by plants kind of world. So that is Day of the Triffids, and I gave it 4... How many stars did I give it? I gave it 5 stars. Of course I did. Yeah, it was a little slow. I feel like it could have been cut down a little bit or sped up or just kind of had more things happen. That's something that I'm realizing. Number one, I'm mostly into hard science fiction. Soft science fiction just isn't for me very much, and we will get into that probably a bit more in the next episode. But yeah, I like the hard science fiction, and I need my books to have things happening in them. I need my. I feel like it's not too much to ask, but sometimes it kind of is. It feels that way. I need my books to have a plot in the first place. I need my books to have things happening, like not just one or two things over 300 pages. I need things to happen kind of often. And I also need to actually care about the characters. That doesn't mean that the characters have to be good or likable. I have to care about them. That's different. Like, you can still have bad characters, but the reader needs to care about them for reasons. Wow, you really wouldn't think that talking into a microphone for a few minutes would be so exhausting, but I had to get some water. I also turned up the gain on my microphone a tiny bit. I don't know if that makes me easier to hear. I don't know if you even want to hear me that much. But too bad. You clicked on this video, and this is your punishment. Now then, our next book is definitely an all-time classic, deservedly so. I'm going to spoil that right out of the gate. This here is 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, I just want to nerd out a little bit that this is a first edition copy of the book that came out just after the movie itself. For those who don't know, the movie and the book were written at the same time. They were written together by Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick, who directed the film. They wrote the story together, but Kubrick did the film, and Arthur C. Clarke is the one credited in the book. I haven't seen the film. I'll throw that out there. I haven't seen the movie, but I have seen a couple of clips of it from now and again, just scrolling and stuff, and I'm pretty sure the film and the book slightly differ, but that's okay. They were written at exactly the same time. They're going to differ slightly. But they worked together on it, Kubrick and Clarke. And another interesting thing is the special effects of the movie used small models of the spaceships for the exterior shots of the spaceships moving around and stuff. But that was in 1968. How crazy is that? The movement of the spaceships was pretty slow in the 2001 film, but that same technique of making models to make the spaceships move was then used in the Star Wars movies nearly 10 years later. But in Star Wars, they were able to combine various other techniques to make the spaceships move quicker, to create dogfight type things, because there's a lot more space battles going on in Star Wars, and that doesn't happen in this book. This is a really, really good book. I also gave this book 5 stars. Let me just double check that that's the case. Where are we? Yes, I did give it 5 stars, of course. The ending does get a little bit trippy. It's a little, it's a little funny. It kind of lost me a little bit. And the main antagonist, I thought there was going to be more to that. So basically we follow, what's his name? Dave and Frank are 2 astronauts on board a spaceship flying to Jupiter. They're also flying with 3 other astronauts who are in hibernation on the ship because they're going to take over on the flight back, something like that. And the entire mission and the ship is also being controlled by the HAL 9000 supercomputer. the HAL 9000, in case you don't know, does eventually become the antagonist. I'm not going to spoil it any more than that. But yeah, he does the job of antagonist really well. So yeah, this book is really, really good. The very beginning is set in the prehistoric past with early humans, like Neanderthals or whatever they are, and it shows the arrival of the Black Monolith, which is created by a random alien species. It travels to planets and is used to inspire evolution, basically. So this monolith shows up in front of a group of early humans, and it teaches them how to use tools, and it gives them the ambition to improve their lives because currently they're starving. And that was a pretty cool part of the book, and then it skips ahead to space travel. It's definitely hard sci-fi, which I like very much. The concept, I didn't realize, I mean, I could have guessed, but I guess I wasn't really thinking about it, is that when a space probe or spaceship that's traveling a long way away to other planets and stuff, even though it's sending messages back to Earth at the speed of light, it still takes hours for those messages to get back and forth. And that does cause some issues in this book, because the characters try to communicate with mission control on Earth, and it takes like 2 hours to send them a message and then get a reply from them. And I liked that level of realism. Yeah, that is pretty much all I have to go on this. I'm also discovering that I really enjoy having early editions of books, or just kind of old, used books. It just feels like they have a story to tell. And that's the kind of thing that I just don't think you can get from a brand new book. You know, there's classic cover design, all that kind of stuff. It tickles me. So yeah, that's 2001, A Space Odyssey. And yeah, in case you didn't know, it's called 2001 because that's the year it's set. Which puts it into a pretty big category of works of fiction that are set in the future, but that future date has now passed, along with Back to the Future 2, Terminator, Salvation, various other things like that. Whilst reading this book, I had two songs in my head. I was very much put in the mind of both Space Oddity and Starman by David Bowie. They were put together at various points. Starman at the end and Space Oddity like through halfway to 3/4 in. Those felt like the perfect songs for this book. Good book. Our third and final book of this group is Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I think the answer is no, based on this book. I'm not sure. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I read this whole book and didn't even think if the title answers the question or not. Anyway, before we get into the book, I wanted to shout out this specific series that this book is published in. This is part of the SF Masterworks, published by Gollancz. I'm not sure how to say that. It's an imprint of Orion Publishing. It claims to be the oldest science fiction publisher in the world, starting in 1927. But this book is specifically part of, first of all, it's in the SF Masterworks. Now, I've looked into this, and they have nearly 200 books in their science fiction Masterworks series. However, this is part of an extra special series called The Best of the Masterworks, which is a list of 21 science fiction books that are considered to be the best of the best. Now, I first of all, I really, really like this cover. The yellow is very nice, and the cover artwork is beautiful as well. Nice and colourful. A very pretty style. And I do actually own one other book from this series. Here we have William Gibson's Neuromancer. Now, this book is not part of this series. I just want to get that out of there. I did attempt to read this book before starting this challenge, and I DNF'd it because the writing style was really difficult to even understand. However, I am probably going to reattempt it after this series is over. But this is also part of this series, like I said. The cover art is by the same artist. The same artist does all 21 books in this series. Orton Purser. Design Tomas Almeida. Okay, so that's those two people? Yeah, Orton Purser appears to be the main person who does these. So they've done the illustration for all of the 21 books in this series. They all have this yellow color on them, which is really pretty, except for 2 hardcovers in this series. Now, they are hardcovers of Dune and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which are exactly the same cover art, but they are red instead of yellow. So presumably this publisher thinks those are the 2 best sci-fi books ever. And coincidentally, they are 2 of the 3 books in the very last group that I'll be doing at the end of this series. So that's a nice poetic way to finish it. Yeah, eventually I'm hoping to collect all 21 books in this series and probably read them all. So I've started with 2. And then technically I do also own Hitchhiker's Guide and Dune, but not in this series. So I'm probably going to find those. I'll get another copy of those books in this specific series because they are very, very pretty. Okay, now that's out of the way. Let's talk about this actual book. This book was also the inspiration for the Blade Runner movies. The original with Harrison Ford, and then the remake or sequel, Blade Runner 2049, with Ryan Gosling. I technically did attempt to watch the first Blade Runner movie, and I couldn't get into it, so even though it's widely recognized as a really good sci-fi movie, I wasn't sure what I was getting into going into this book. Yeah, there is some action going on, but it does also seem a little bit slow in the pacing. It took a while for things to pick up. The world building, it's a very built up, crazy version of future Earth. But it's not. If your world is gonna be, the further removed your world is from our normal lives on Earth, the more kind of explanation, the more structure, the better it needs to be laid out in a certain way for me to be able to kind of visualize it. And this book didn't really do that. The world that it's built is an interesting one, but I feel like a lot more could have gone into exploring that rather than just being, this is the world, this is our character, let's go. The book is about Rick Deckard, who is a bounty hunter whose job is to hunt down rogue androids. There's a new line of really, really realistic androids, but Rick has a personality test to try to work out an android from a human based around empathy, and he needs the money. Basically, as a bounty hunter, you get a very, very low base salary, and then you get paid for every target you take out. And there are 6 of them on the run now. So he has to try and find them all, because the crazy thing in this post-apocalyptic world is the environment is so destroyed that most, if not all, animal species have died out. There's only a few left, and they are incredibly hard to come by. And therefore, the biggest status symbol you can have is to own a live animal. Rick himself has an electric sheep. So if you're too poor to buy a real animal, you can buy an android animal that looks hyper-realistic. but you can never tell anyone. You have to pretend that it's real, so much so that if your android animal breaks down, you can hire a mechanic to come and fix it, but they will show up dressed as a vet with, like, a vet company van and all that stuff to keep up the appearance that your electric animal is real. So yeah, it's a really, really good idea. I like the idea of everything about this book. It didn't feel like there was that much of a plot really going on. I feel like this book could have done a lot more. The characters were difficult to understand, difficult to like. But yeah, a really, really good idea. I just don't know if I 100% love how it was done. So that is all 3 of our books. Now I gave Androids how many stars? I gave Androids 4 stars and the other 2 books 5 stars. So to summarize this group, definitely the strongest group we've had so far. I put both Day of the Triffids and 2001 in joint first place. Would Androids get second or third place in that sense? I'm not even sure. Does it really matter? I don't know. But yeah, averaging 4.8 stars over the 3 books. Definitely the strongest group so far. Our next group, we will be reviewing Ender's Game and The Left Hand of Darkness. And spoiler alert, I only finished one of those 3 books. And we will get into that in the next episode of Timeless or Time to Go.